I think we've got a bouquet of issues, and
Sure.
it's from loneliness to bigger issues like money, unemployment, health, aging, sexual assault, the volatile climate that we are living in. I think my first question to you would be, Anuttama, that against this backdrop, what is the kind of personality that insecurity has? What is the kind of texture that insecurity has? What does it look like?
So insecurity is a mind with which we may greet these anxieties, we may not greet these anxieties. So it's basically an identity, personality pattern. Yes, some of us address these anxieties with insecurity. Some of us do not address these anxieties with insecurity. So there lies the difference between the outcomes also. Let's say if I'm addressing the anxieties with a pre-existing insecure mind, my relationship with anxieties will be very different. And if I'm dealing with the anxieties I'm not saying with a happy mind, but at least with a more realistic way where I'm not insecure. I'll mention what exactly, how does it feel like, what exactly insecurity does to us. But if I do not have insecurity, the moment I'll explain insecurity, we'll understand that our whole equation with our anxieties and our immediate environment will change. Insecurity is a state of mind where I feel I am vulnerable chronically. I'm not good enough. There is a deeper sense of inadequacy. This good enough, this last bit is very important. We often say defensively, oh, I'm good. Really? Perhaps not. Because deep down, all the things that you were mentioning, they will induce that sense of whether am I good enough or not. So those who are kind of brought up with this sense of not feeling good enough, vulnerable, some way inadequate, it's my self-perception. They might feel unsafe even in their own presence, even when external dangers are absent. Maybe there is nothing to provoke me right away. I'm just entering this hall and I'm thinking, am I looking all right here? Am I overdressed? Should I wear this earring? Nobody is wearing such danglers. This is my mind. This is insecurity. And another person is entering that, okay, this is me. Nobody is wearing it, so how does it matter? I learned from Ratnaboli. So this is how Ratnaboli will enter and, she will claim the space in a way. And others will also feel comfortable around her. That is another predisposition. So insecurity does something to us, and it's not coming from outside. Anxieties will keep coming. Insecurity is here. How we are relating to, responding to our world, that inner fabric we will explore this evening. And trust me, since it's inside, we have full agency to deal with it. World would never be kind to us. But your lens you can definitely change, and we will explore that. If I'm an insecure person, I might always seek validation and assurance from everybody around us, because even if I see that today my son came back home and usually he sits with me, talks to me, today he's just sitting there with a long face. আমি যখন জিজ্ঞেস করছি কি হয়েছে ভালো লাগছে না, I may start thinking, now listen to this part very carefully, আমার সাথে কিছু হলো? In the morning, did I say anything? Why? Because I have deep down my sense of inadequacy. I start feeling, did I fail him anyway? Is it about me? Because since childhood, we may probably developed this personality where anything going wrong in home, I felt I'm responsible. Maybe parents have fought. And children have a certain way to think that everything is happening because of them, because they are too overwhelming to themselves. So maybe it's parents who are fighting, but the child is thinking, why Ma is not happy? Have I done anything? So from there, this over-seeking assurance, over-pleasing nature, sometimes I'm being over-aggressive, over-irritated because I'm losing patience. I hate to be in silence, in darkness. I need clarity because constantly I am feeling I am failing. This is insecurity. So even when others are in their own trips, transitions are happening, as you mentioned, in any relationship, I mean, everybody would behave with me exactly the way they behaved with me last evening. Will not happen. But if I'm a secure person, I may just think that, ওর আজকে মুডটা বোধহয় ভালো নেই কোনো কারণে, এটা ঘেঁটে আছে, থাক. But if I'm an insecure person, I would not be able to let it go so easily. I would overread the text messages also. The other days she writes OKAY. Today she wrote okay. Why? I'm overhearing tones. And very importantly, I am trying to attune with the other person's mood constantly. যখনই তারা হ্যাপি মুডে আছে আমি হ্যাপি, যখনই তারা হ্যাপি মুডে নেই আমিও হ্যাপি নেই। কারণ আমি আর আমাকে ওদের থেকে আলাদা করে দেখতেই পাচ্ছি না, as if I have to constantly ensure that everybody is okay when I'm around. Otherwise, I will feel like a failure.
If security and insecurity, there is a dyad, and if we often, because of our temperament, catastrophize, anxiety, supposing someone has a body issue,
Yeah.
what will be the unfolding and unpacking of that story? Or say someone has an issue with finances,
Yeah.
whether I'll have the finances, say 10 years later, how will the insecurity unpack and tell a story?
We constantly have to deal with certain inevitabilities and not so pleasant inevitabilities. That's a reality. Now, when it comes to we responding to them with insecurity, and as you mentioned, যে catastrophize আমরা করছি, catastrophize করাটাকে আমরা minimize করতে পারি কিনা, আমরা যদি সেই দিকটাতে তাকাতে চাই, রত্নাবলী, ফার্স্টলি যেটা আমায় দেখতে হবে যে whenever I'm confronting a problem, am I brooding or am I planning? These are not the same.
Mm-hmm.
So when we plan, okay, let me take this example. AI emerging, very realistically, somebody mentioned, technological changes are happening. A lot of people might even lose jobs. It's a reality. So what can I do from my end? How can I also make my team members equipped in advance? That is planning. So I'm not saying that all of us will be able to solve all the problems forever. That is an unrealistic expectation. Problems will come. But at least if I know that, okay, so ChatGPT, in fact, I learned ChatGPT from Anitish. So, I keep getting these kind of inputs from my younger generation. In fact, sometimes even from my clients, I learn a lot of things about the new chat room that they have discovered where some empathy chattings are happening. I get this information from them, and sometimes I share that with another client of mine saying যেটা আমাকে একজন বলেছেন, তিনি অ্যাপ্লাই করে দেখেছেন, ভালো আছেন, আপনি ট্রাই করে দেখতে পারেন, আমি দেখিনি. Or let's say dating sites. I have never been a part of it, but I'm sure many of the younger generations are. Of course, there are risks, but it's important when we are talking about planning, we try and see what can I do from my part, and I'm addressing only that aspect, only that part which I can control. I'm not thinking about aspects which are beyond my control. For example, I too will learn the technology, but at that time when I'm going for this whole new model, this developmental workshop, what if my flight meets with an accident? This is brooding. Or after learning also, if I lose my job, before learning also you might lose your job. So that is brooding. Brooding is a circular motion where we go on and on and on. Planning is a forward moving motion where we go one step forward, leaving, letting go the previous one. So this is where we have to tap how we respond to a new threat which has emerged. Threats will keep coming.
সবাইকার পক্ষে তো এটা বলা সম্ভব নয়, ব্রুড করা না সম্ভব নয়, তাই না? বিকজ দের আর সার্টেন পার্সোনালিটিস যাদের পক্ষে ইনার রিসোর্সেস ট্যাপ করা অনেক সময় সম্ভব হয় না, তো তারা কি করবে?
If I have to work with my mind, and we are coming back to it time and again, and as I told you, যেহেতু এটা আমার ভেতরের, I have my full agency. একদিক থেকে দেখলে কঠিন লাগতে পারে, জোরে বাবা তাহলে তো খুব কঠিন কাজ, it's not easy to fix it outside, but on the other hand, whatever you're trying to fix outside would always be out of your control, would never be under your control. But if it is with me, then I have at least some knowledge, control over it. It might take time. তো আমি কি করব? প্রথম কথা হচ্ছে যে আমার এই যে গুড এনাফ না ফিল করা, which is the essence of an insecure mind, that I am not good enough, I have to be better. That means I have a complaining mind about the person I am, no matter how I look, no matter what I do. And এটাও তো আমাদের একদিনে শুরু হয় না রত্নাবলী দিয়ে, আমরা আমাদের জ্ঞাতে অজ্ঞাতে আমাদের চারপাশের সন্তানদের মধ্যেও সেটা অনেক সময় হয়তো ঢুকিয়ে ফেলি, হয়তো তাদের মধ্যে এই অ্যাংজাইটি তৈরি করবো বলে করছি না, যাতে তারা নিজেদেরকে আরও বেশি পুশ করে, যাতে কমপ্লেসেন্ট না হয়। অ্যাজ আ টিচার উই মে সে দ্যাট you have to earn your reward. I know you can do better. এই বেটারের যে কোনো শেষ নেই, এটা তো বড় হয়ে হতে আমরা বুঝতে পারি। সো আজকে যে জায়গায় পৌঁছেছি, if we could start from today, that I would try to define this word enough. I am not good enough. What do I mean by this? What is my definition of being enough? What is my definition of being good? আমায় যদি ভালো দেখতে লাগতে হয়, তার ডেফিনেশন আমার কাছে কি? এক। দুই, আমায় যদি সারাক্ষণ ভালো দেখতে না লাগে, আমায় যদি সকলের সারাক্ষণ ভালো না লাগে, even if my decisions, even if my life choices are not appreciated by others all the time, because in any case it will not be. Even if you dress up in a certain way, some people may say তোকে আজকে কি ভালো দেখাচ্ছে, another person may say তোকে ওই দিন বেশি ভালো দেখাচ্ছিল, which actually means আমায় আজকে অত ভালো দেখাচ্ছে না। How really does it matter? আমি যদি সিকিওর মাইন্ড নিয়ে আমাকে আজকে ভালো দেখাচ্ছে না, ঠিক হ্যাঁ চল থাকতে পারি, আমার জীবনের এই ডিসিশনগুলো কেউ কোনো দিন পছন্দ করে, তোকে নিয়ে তো যা শুনছিলাম তাই, সিজন 2 এখনো আসেনি, আমি আজকাল এটা বলি, ওটা তো সিজন 1. You do not even know the choicest gossip of my life. Now the person will ask you, which one is that? Don't tell them. Dhoondte reh jaoge. Because they are actually not even going to find it out. Immediately after this evening, they will be caught up with their own life struggles.
I think, fear of failure is becoming almost like an epidemic, if I'm to use quote unquote a medical terminology.
Yeah.
Apologies, Nirupta. Because in this competitive world, and with the kind of, parenting, we constantly push our children to be the best. So once, when they have to face rejection, failure, there is a huge mental health impact.
Sure.
And that mental health impact kind of has a consequence within the family fold. So I was thinking that how shall we negotiate with fear of failure? It's not just about children. I think we also have fears of failure.
With children, we have to be, I would say, more careful, particularly now when we are learning to look at insecurities and how an insecure child might even deal with anxieties, failure later, now that we are learning. With this knowledge, when we appear to them, we will have to talk responsibly. So I think it's also important that we give clarity when we are instructing, because sometimes we do not give clarity. For example, এটা না ভালো লাগছে না রে, কি হলে ভালো লাগবে আমরা বলছি না, but this is not good enough, this is not going anywhere. Okay, so how should I do it to make it go somewhere? Give some clarity. This is very, very important. Also, when children come up with certain traits which we do not appreciate, what if we tell them যে দেখ এটা তুই পড়ে আছিস আমার ভালো লাগছে না, but I'm sure তোর বন্ধুদের ভালোই লাগবে, something like that, because we are also introducing the idea of relativity. It is not an absolute judgment. Social judgments will vary. So I'm not saying that I will have to hold an inauthentic conversation with my child. I may say যে আমার জঘন্য লাগলো এই জামাটা, আমি জীবনে পড়তাম না, কিন্তু হাউ ডাজ ইট ম্যাটার, তোর ভাল লাগছে তুই পড়ে বেরোতে পারবি, তোর বন্ধুদের ভাল লাগবে বেরিয়ে পড়. This I can definitely say. So I'm not literally crushing her confidence, saying যে খুব খারাপ দেখাচ্ছে তোমাকে, কিন্তু আমি কিন্তু ভাবতে পারিনি তুমি আজকে এই জামাটা পরে এখানে যাবে. It's not for me to decide. Also, when we are, trying to motivate our kids, there are certain traps which we create around them. One is, of course, they should push themselves. They should try and strive for perfection, excellence. But perfectionism can also be a trap, Ratnaboli.
I think as individuals, we should groom our friends, our children to face with failures, because failures are reality.
Firstly, we have to redefine failure. What is a failure? What are my markers of success and what are my markers of failure? This is very important because we use certain terms without even decoding them to ourselves. Let's say, for example, maybe I was going through a very bad heartbreak, very bad breakup, and during that period, most of the time এইসব সময় বোর্ডসের এক্সামস এসে যায়, ওইটা এসে সাংঘাতিক বয়স পরীক্ষার, কেন যে ওই সময় পরীক্ষার বয়স ফেলা হয়েছে কে জানে বাবা, তখনই তো এসব হবে. And if I know that I just had this heartbreak, with our time, এখন এই বয়সে দাঁড়িয়ে we may think that, oh, you're going through this would have in any case gone cancelled in this age, so this happens. But we are saying that now with so many gray hairs. For a 16-year-old, that's huge, that's massive, that's like end of the world. So with that feeling, if this person has appeared in the exam and did not fail, to me that is success. That is not failure, because this person knew that I was falling flat on my face every other day, not crying, holding up and meeting my teachers, my friends, writing at least something from my memory was a huge task. I could not tell the world what I was going through, but at least I knew what I was going through. So if you know that while handling a personal crisis, you were doing some work and you at least know how you were handling your life at that time, you must pat your back, celebrate your success. It does not matter what social markers are around you.
আমরা বাঙালিরা, আমরা ভারতীয়রা ভীষণ ছেলে মেয়েদের ফ্রাস্ট্রেট করায়.
Very true.
And we always test their threshold of frustration, and therefore with the threshold of frustration, their fear of failure, there is an integrate relationship. So I think we need to look at it from another perspective of how we deal with frustration and whether we should push our children towards frustration, or even ourselves towards frustration. এই যে কষ্ট না করলে কেষ্ট মেলে না, এই শব্দবন্ধগুলোকে না আমাদের এখন ভীষণভাবে বিনির্মাণ করতে হবে, চ্যালেঞ্জ করতে হবে. বেশি কষ্ট আবার ভালো নয়.
কষ্ট করার দরকার হবে না, কষ্ট এমনিই আসবে. We don't have to go and look for frustration. Hello, just wait, they'll come and visit you. Rather, we should try and help them to greet frustration with a resilient mind. We do not help our children to develop that. সেখানে এই যে তুমি বলছো, আমার কয়েকটা জিনিস মনে হচ্ছে, আমরা যদি আরও একটু স্পেসিফিক্যালি বলি, রত্নাবলি দি, we have always seen, আমাদের নিজেদের বাড়িতেও দেখেছি, আমি দুদিন আগে I was telling a friend of mine that usually in our families we do not praise our own children, we praise others' children. Not always to compare. Maybe we feel that it's a bad taste, that I would appreciate the cousins. দেখেছো তোমার দাদা কত ভালো পরীক্ষা করেছে, কত ভালো করেছে, তোমার দিদি কি সুন্দর গান গাইছে, নিজের মেয়ের নিজের ছেলের প্রশংসা আমি কি করে করতে পারি? দ্যাটস দ্য কালচার। আর যে মারা করছেন, যে বাবারা করছেন, তাদের দিকে বাড়ির আত্মীয়রাও কম্প্যারিজন করেই তাকাবে, ভালো চোখে দেখবে না সে বাবা মাকে। ওরা আবার বেশি বেশি নিজের ছেলে মেয়েকে সারাক্ষণ মাথায় তোলে। So that is also not socially appreciated around us. We have not brought up in those sort of, interpersonal environment, parental environment. All I would say is we do not have to go overboard. Say, oh my God, my son has arrived. You have got 2 in 100. How does it matter? We will celebrate. No, let's not overdo. Rather, we can try and be more realistic about it. যে তুমি যদি 102 পেয়ে থাকো, খুবই খারাপ নম্বর পেয়েছো, কিন্তু তুমি ভেবে দেখো তুমি 102টা কেন পেলে। কুড ইউ আইডেন্টিফাই, হ্যাঁ বাবা আই ডিডন্ট স্টাডি, গ্রেট, অ্যাটলিস্ট দ্য ডায়াগনোসিস কুড বি ডান। ইফ ইউ আর হ্যাপি উইথ ইয়োর মার্কস, আমার কিছু বলার নেই। ইফ ইউ আর নট, then what's your plan B? We can hold a more realistic conversation, and when they do good things, when they are actually coming up with some sort of excitement, we can at least try and be happy when they are also happy. না হলে যেটা হয়, কনস্ট্যান্টলি দেখো কিভাবে ইনসিকিউরিটি ট্র্যাপ তৈরি হয় রত্নাবলী দি। দ্য চাইল্ড মে থিঙ্ক দ্যাট no matter how I perform, I am not good enough to receive love. I would not be accepted. Ebar, I'm not accepted, I'm unlovable, I am not good enough will be reinforced. So in order to be loved, I would start overperforming. So how we deal with our anxieties, ওই আবারও brooding and planning নিয়ে, circle of control বলে একটা এক্সারসাইজ আমরা করে দেখতে পারি। Whenever you are, caught up in a thought, firstly you have to identify, বুঝবো কি করে ব্রুট করছি না প্ল্যান করছি, সেটা দিয়েও যদি শুরু করি। Firstly, I can ask myself, where is my mind? Where am I? আমরা তো who am I এর প্রশ্ন নিয়ে অনেক সময় philosophically, spiritually অনেক struggle করি, ওটা অনেক বড় প্রশ্ন। But where am I? খুব সহজ প্রশ্ন। Maybe you're sitting here, but while listening to Ratnaboli and me, something triggered in you and your mind is there. And that's okay. Mind has its own nature of being everywhere. যেখানে আমার মন বেশি যায়, সেখানে আমার unresolved গল্পরা আছে। So be aware where your mind usually goes, where it gets hooked. Now, if something is happening there and your mind is constantly going there, maybe some unresolved anxieties I'm trying to address, try and see, যদি 3টে সার্কেল ড্র করা যায়, একটা ইনার সার্কেল, একটা মিডল সার্কেল, একটা আউটার সার্কেল, what are the things we can put in the inner circle? Inner circle will consist of only those areas which I can fully control. For example, okay, this evening I would sit here till the end or not, stays in my inner circle, because that is entirely up to me, unless there is an emergency. But otherwise, I know that I'm going to be here till the show ends. So let's say, for example, whether I will take my physician's appointment tomorrow if he is available or not, that can be a part of my inner circle. Or আমি আজকে এখন বসে একটা সিরিজ দেখবো কিনা, can be my inner circle. Middle circle is what I can influence but cannot control. I can ask my son to, be careful about his drinking, but I cannot control. I can nudge. I can try and influence. I mean, we have a doctor sitting in the room, so even when the doctors gives us advices, they are actually dealing with that middle circle. Sometimes even in health profession, we feel frustrated that we did tell our patient, but we cannot control. সে গিয়ে নিয়মটা মানবেন কিনা তো আমি জানি না, আমি ইনফ্লুয়েন্স করার চেষ্টা করতে পারি। অ্যান্ড লাস্ট বাট নট দ্য লিস্ট, আউটার কন্ট্রোল, থিংস দ্যাট উই ক্যানট ইভেন কন্ট্রোল, নিদার ক্যান উই ইনফ্লুয়েন্স। Whenever you are feeling overwhelmed with your thoughts, just check which part actually is activated. যেটা ভাবছি সেটা আমার ইনার কন্ট্রোলের, মিডল কন্ট্রোলের না আউটার কন্ট্রোলের। মোস্ট অফ দ্য টাইমস we spend so much energy to deal with the contents of the outer control, which in any case we cannot deal with.
So we open out our conversation to the audience, and if we can have questions.
I have a question. This is about external validation. মানে আমি যা কিছু করি, I look for an external validation that ঠিক করেছি কিনা, and any form of criticism creates a self-doubt in me that somewhere or other I'm going wrong. So basically, what I'm trying to say is external factors are basically more dominating than the
বুঝতে
internal.
পেরেছি স্যার আপনি এক্সটার্নাল ভ্যালিডেশনের কথা বলছেন খুব গুরুত্বপূর্ণ প্রশ্ন আর কি প্রশ্ন আছে আমি নিয়ে নিই হ্যাঁ আমরা ওইখানে একটু মাইকটা দাও
This is a very general question. It's about the generation. It's about our children. We find nowadays they are afraid to go into relationships. Even if a relationship stays, it is very fragile. Even if it transpires to a marriage, they are afraid to have kids. Is this because of individualism? Is this because of a struggle to stay afloat in the consumerism world, or what? For us, it is our outer circle. We cannot do anything. We just got to be in our inner circle and sort of, go to the middle circle and tell them that, look, this is that, we did this. And they'll say that it was your time, it is our time. So what do you think is the reason for this insecurity?
Thank you. So self-doubt, external validation,
Over-expectation from our children.
okay.
With my gray hair, so the age that I am, so generally the general trend is to over-expect from the children that if the children are staying out of the city or country, like you expect a call or a WhatsApp or, and when the call doesn't come that day, for whatever reason, the first thing you think that আজকে তো কিছু একটা ঘটনা সাংঘাতিক হয়ে গেছে
Is that catastrophizing then?
so like this is very much so
Got it. Thank you. You had a question here. Did you have a question here?
I'd like to continue with this. Like she said that catastrophizing, whatever, I feel you also feel slightly depressed. They're not caring enough to ring me up.
There is a sadness. Okay.
Yes, okay.
We'll stop here. We'll come back to you, Prerna. We'll stop here and we'll take the responses from Anuttama. So, external validation, self-doubt, generational problem, commitment issues.
Okay, yeah. And since we are talking about insecurities and, how an insecure mind functions, that's the topic of the evening. I would try to kind of, weave these questions around insecurity and how exactly these are connected. So if we first take the self-doubt and the validation question, may I know your name, please? Ketan. Yeah.
That's a very good question.
Yeah, that's a very good question because this actually comes from our inner insecurity. And as we were mentioning that, seeking assurance, seeking validation, and whenever there is any criticism, we would see that if I have insecurity, I would be hypersensitive about criticism. I would remember the criticism. Let's say, maybe you performed, more or less people praised. One person said, ওই জায়গাটা না তোর একটু off tune হয়েছিল. It was slightly off tune, but the rest of the song, you go back with just one sentence that I was off tune in that particular line. And the rest of the appreciations, they completely go out of your memory because I am hyper vigilant about that one aspect which reconfirms I am not good enough. So if I have to start reworking with myself, firstly, I have to start being contented with myself. This self-complaining nature where I'm constantly criticizing myself, my inner critic is actually not letting me grow or not letting me, because it's like, of course I would try to be excellent, that's a different story, but with a guilty and unworthy mind, I would not even be able to plan things nicely. So nobody will constantly appreciate us or validate us, and most importantly, this is also connected to what you mentioned, Smita, right? Yeah, what about me is always a trap. Every time if we think that it's about me or what about me, then I am not even considering others and their trajectories. For example, somebody is not giving me enough validation may also come from that person's preoccupation over something else that evening. Maybe the other days they are far more, engaged, so say a lot of things. Today, you've just caught up with something else. It's not about me. So, which is why, the validation did not come not because I performed or I did anything less, just that the other person is caught up with something else. So, similarly, when my child did not call or did not respond in a certain way, if I really love another person, what if I start thinking that the way I am looking at my life right now, I wish I could talk to her. Maybe she's also doing something else which pleases her. আপনি যে প্রশ্নটা করছিলেন, the fear of commitments, and sometimes you very correctly mentioned, is this also related to consumerism? I think because we are constantly running. In fact, I was listening to not a podcast, a video of a particular person, and he mentioned something beautiful, that we are no longer human beings, we are human goings. We are constantly going. We are no longer human beings. Since it's also that, perhaps we do not have enough time to negotiate difficulties in relationships. Whenever that time is given to my work and the other things for earning, because 10টা 5টার চাকরি বলে আজকের জীবনে আর কিছু হয় না, কখনো হতো। এখন আমাদের জীবন খুব আলাদা হতেও পারে, this is just an assumption, that we want relationships where we will not have to use a lot of bandwidth, emotional bandwidth. We do not have enough emotional bandwidth that is being used up in some other works. Maybe there the capitalist world, the consumerist world is taking it away from us. আমরা চাইলেও একটা সম্পর্কে যখন ভীষণ ফ্রিকশনস তৈরি হচ্ছে, 5 দিন ছুটি নিয়ে তার জন্য একটা সময় বার করতে পারছি না, and it is becoming an expensive affair. পারছি না, it's too expensive to hold this relationship. It's rather easier to just let it be and move on, because I don't have that headspace. So what is there in my space of head? The other things, যেটা আমার চারপাশ থেকে আমার ডিমান্ডে চলে এসেছে. This could be one of the reasons. But আরেকটা আমি যেটা বলবো যে transitions are also real. Maybe we can also hold conversation with our children that we do not know whether the relationship will be exactly like this or not. There are many marriages where the marriage, when it happened, the way it appeared to these two, it does not appear that way after many, many years. Maybe they are not divorced, but the marriage does not look the same. They may stay together, that they may not. That's a different story altogether. But you probably have to also go with transition. So I think ভয় পাওয়া যেখানে সন্তান নিয়ে বা ইত্যাদি নিয়ে, is that fear or a choice? And if that is just a choice, then okay. If it is a fear, can we also have some more dialogues?
One of my friends, she recently got promoted. I'm very happy for her, but a part of me, আমার মনে হয় যে why not me? আবার অন্য কারোর সঙ্গে আমার সঙ্গে যখন কিছু পজিটিভ হচ্ছে, আমি তখন বলছি why me? একটা লুপের মধ্যে থাকছে, why me, why not me? It's like almost like I'm roaming around in circles. How do I deal with it?
আমার যেরকম একদিকে ভালো লাগছে, ওই যেরকম আমরা 3 Idiots বোধ হয় দেখেছিলাম, যে আমাদের বেস্ট ফ্রেন্ড ফার্স্ট হয়ে গেলে আমাদের অ্যাকচুয়ালি একটু কষ্টই হয়. So that's a very realistic mind. At times we experience that, because once again we feel, what about me? কারণ আমাদের তো সেটাই শেখানো হয়েছে. এই যে কম্প্যারিজনের কথা যিনি বলছিলেন, ভেরি কারেক্টলি সেড, যে তোর বন্ধু এটা পেলো আর তুই এটা পেলি না, যদি শুনে আমি বড় হই, আমার বন্ধুর প্রমোশনে আমি শুধুই হ্যাপি হব কি করে? So there are two minds operating. যেটা আমরা my teacher often says যে jealousy makes a bad situation worst. So I would tell you the same thing. যার যেটা পাওয়ার, তার প্রমোশনটা তারই থাকে. আমি যদি একটু হ্যাপি হতে পারতাম এই মুহূর্তে, অন্তত রিজয়েস করতে পারতাম, তাহলে আমার আনহ্যাপিনেসটা একটু কমতো. 2, আমি সবসময় আমার বেস্টটা দিতে পারবো, আমি সবসময় সকলকে ভালো বোধ করাতে পারবো, সবসময় যা যা প্ল্যান করেছি তা হবে. These are the traps, unrealistic expectations that I hold out of myself. In fact, Ketan, everybody would not always be happy, no matter how good I perform. There are people who hated Lata Mangeshkar's voice. Some people still compare Lata and Asha. I don't even know. I mean, you can praise one without even criticizing the other. but we don't learn that language. So it is not about who's good, it's about who's being liked. And being liked and disliked is a very relative, very subjective matter. So it really does not matter. আমি যদি এটা নাও পেয়ে থাকি ঠিক আছে, যদি পেয়েও থাকি আমার ভাবার দরকার নেই ইম্পোস্টার সিনড্রোম হয়ে যে নিশ্চয়ই কোনো একটা কারণে আমায় দিয়ে দিয়েছে, মেবি আই এম নট দ্যাট গুড। Sometimes hold yourself lightly. Travel light with yourself because our pained self is a very heavy self. শরীরে যখন ব্যথা হয়, আমরা দেখবেন মাথা ব্যথা হয় যখন, মাথা ভার হয়। মন যখন ভীষণ ব্যথাতুর থাকে, আমি যখন খুব ব্যথার আমি হই, আমারও ভার বাড়ে। আমরা যদি আমাদের ব্যথার আমিটাকে কমিয়ে আনতে পারি, I would be able to travel light with myself. Whenever you're engaging with the other person, whether it's your children or friends or whosoever, নিজেকে কিছুক্ষণ নিজের থেকে নামিয়ে রাখুন, পুরোটা ওর কথা শুনুন, ওই 10 মিনিটটা পুরোটা ওই মানুষটা। ওই মোমেন্টটাতে I am not carrying myself the way we have kept our bags aside, but once we leave this room, we will take them back. So sometimes we need to de-associate ourselves with ourselves, and we have to be fully for you.